unbelievable that it's been almost 20 years since the SOX regulation was passed. And so now is a good time to reflect on some of the key learnings. So the first one is that we've really learned that the key to an effective and efficient SOX program is process standardization and automation. So 20 years ago, we jumped in and we just documented the existing processes and then made sure that we got controls around them. But really, what we need to be doing is really focusing on standardizing processes, getting to the point where you're not testing multiple variants of control, that you really are driving to a common control environment. And then also on top of that, really driving the automation. So certainly we know that we've got much better tools and technology than we did 20 years ago. So I think really making sure that you're focused on that standardization and automation is critically important. I think, the other thing that we've really learned is the importance of culture. So for example, having control owners that understand the ICAPA risks that are in their process, really understand the control activities that they're executing to be able to mitigate those risks, and then obviously have the evidence to support that. But, I know that that sounds really simple, but ultimately, if I think about the root cause of a lot of the issues or inefficiencies that we have with SOX programs, ultimately, if people were really able to understand their controls and understood the end-to-end process and how their control activities fit within that, then ultimately, I think you'd have a much more efficient process. So then, so I think the next question is like, okay, well, that's what's happened in the last 20 years. Where do we think SOX is going in the next 20 years? And the key to that clearly is the use of technology. And the use of technology across all three lines of defense. So if we think about the first line of defense, really getting to the point where the actual close itself doesn't take as much time, but you're really able to spend the time in the analysis. You're able to get to the point where you're looking at 100% data sets, so that even if you have some unusual items in there, then you can say it could not have been material because of the fact that we've got this control in place that is monitoring kind of 100% of the data set. I think that then, if you look at what we can do kind of in the SOX function world, I think that there's a lot of areas that we can focus on. So first, the use of analytics to really be able to say, how do I really strengthen the risk assessment process to either decide, I don't see any anomalies, so I'm not going to need to do specific detailed testing in that area, or maybe you use the data analytics to be able to identify anomalies, look for unusual spikes, and okay, that's where I'm going to focus my attention. I think one of the other areas is like in the test of design. So to really be able to start using some of the process mining tools to be able to have much more of a data-enabled walkthrough process, so that you can focus on what are those transactions that didn't follow the standard process, and really can be using that data to be able to see how many times is that happening. And then, I think one of the other big technologies is really using GRC tools. So whether that's an audit board or Kiva, or one of the more enterprise-wide platforms like a ServiceNow, to be able to drive the efficiency of programs, really in terms of making sure that everybody understands kind of what control activities they're supposed to be performing, and making the whole process a lot more efficient. So even though it's been 20 years, we've certainly learned a lot in the last 20 years, but I think there's a lot more to come in the future.